Evening, everybody. Welcome to a late night edition of the Jazz Shepherd channel. We're making some progress on the coffee shop, and so I might actually have to start making my episodes in the evenings, which I used to do back in the day. We'll see how things play out. But today I posted a record that's one of my favorite records, and it's grown on me a lot the more I've listened to it. Back when I was doing the DJ brunch on Saturdays and Sundays, I would throw this record out there quite frequently, and the more I listened to it, it took a little while, but it got better to me and better to me and better to me. And I'm talking about a guy by the name of Bob Doro, who's a great singer who's kind of under the radar some. And most of us who do know him from here on this Miles Davis Sorcerer record. And if memory serves, this was actually recorded several years before the rest of the material on this record, being it's probably not even the Miles' second quintet. It's probably a different group. But Doro is such an interesting singer. And before he does this with Miles, I think in 63 or 2, he actually sings that with Miles. He makes a record at Bethlehem that the cover alone was perfect for me. And so I was kind of, when I started collecting Bethlehem, I'm like, that's what I want to find. And it's a pretty tough record to come by nowadays. I think there's one on Discogs right now for 110 bucks. But the more I've digested this, hey jazz fans, listen to this. He's kind of a culmination of a lot of the things that define and make jazz what it is. Improvisation, a sense of fun, Armstrong's ability to scat and to herbalize and vocalize with his throat and his nose and his mouth, to change and shift melody, to bend pitch, to shift rhythms, to alternate the melodies of the songs as they originally composed. He's singing with elements of bebop, elements of modernity, borrowing from Parker, borrowing from Monk. He's a complete genius. And he's got this kind of swinging hipster little thing to him. But if you listen to him, he sings very much like a horn. His rhythm, his enunciation, it's all like he's got a embouchure with a horn in front of him. And, excuse me. And he sings like a Gillespie would play, like an Armstrong would play. His sense of honor for the greats like Gillespie, who he does an honor to in the song "Oh, Ow," and then he does here this Yardbird Suite for Parker. Baltimore Orioles, just fantastic. So I listened to it today, and this trumpet player, by the way, who's rather anonymous, Warren Fitzgerald. Maybe that's an alias, but he's fantastic. Got a nice, beautiful tone, really rich. Maybe it is an alias, because this guy can really play. I don't know why I don't know his name. But the rest of the band's pretty anonymous as well. Jack Hitchcock, Bill Takas on the bass, and Jerry Segal on the drums. But this whole record, it's just what jazz is. It's the freedom and the liberty to reinterpret songs based off how I feel right now. And I'm going to say this is one of the most important jazz records and one of the best jazz records that you've never heard of. And I would say 5% of the audience out there is going to know this record. And that means a lot of people aren't going to watch this episode, but you should watch this episode. And you should find this record. Luckily, there is a couple versions of this out there with a different cover on vinyl from the 70s and 80s that you can get for 5, 10, 15 bucks. And you get the music. I think they're called Devil May Care. Speaking of which, that track, Devil May Care, it's such a great rendition of that. But as I posted this record, to Facebook groups today, the Jazz Vinyl Club and Jazz Vinyl Lovers, I got in a couple of great conversations with a few big jazz heads. And you kind of know the degree of someone's jazz knowledge by what they, chat with you about. If they're still chatting with you about Monk and tone poets, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to talk to me about Bob Doro, you're someone who's been around. And my friend Russell Lee Fine, who helped make The Wire. A really great, knowledgeable guy. We chat sometimes. He instantly chimes in and says I used to play this on his radio show back in the 80s. Baltimore Oriole and Yardbird Suite in particular. And a few other people started chiming in of knowledgeable, status. And I realized that, there's a little club of us who really love this record. And it's so fantastic, and it grows on you. First time you listen to it, you're a little bit like, okay, that was a little, but it is a little weird. And it's a little avant-garde even in it, just how he shifts and manipulates his voice. His voice is absolutely an instrument. He's the lead horn player. His other record on Bethlehem, no, he's on the record on Bethlehem, sorry. He has a couple other records out there that are on small kind of labels, but they come in the 60s and 70s. But it's just such a cool session. So you hear Armstrong, you hear Parker's bebop, you hear Dizzy Gillespie's scatting, and Armstrong scatting. She, like, you don't normally sing a phrase like she, and he just totally is undulating the melody there. This is it right here, Devil May Care. I can't get enough of this record. I'm gonna start DJing again soon. I got a couple of my gigs back. I'm super excited. It's kind of why I'm going through some records again. This is such a cool centerpiece of the type of jazz that I think a lot of people want. It's hipster beret, beatnik. It's super fun. It's very improvised. It's got so much of the essence of what comes before it. It's completely not just saccharine. None of these songs are done in a straightforward sense. They're all done with. It reminds me of John Hendricks from Hendricks, Lambert, Roth, Hendricks from they have a couple records together on ABC. Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross, I think it is. But it's so fantastic. I think I skipped Devil May Care actually. This is the song after it. I'm gonna back it up.
I can't explain this. I suffer no regret.
It sucks because this Bethlehem stuff often gets blocked. I should remember that, but this is fantastic. This is fantastic. I keep talking so it doesn't get edited.
He who is wise never tries to devise what's past and gone. Live love to the
It's so fun. It's a record you just don't think as being central to the sound of jazz, but it defines jazz as good as any record I can think of. It's got the playing, it's got the fun sensation, the joy of the music. It's like I said, it's got some edges to it, some bent notes, flatted fists. You know what I mean? It just shoots through all the ladders that define what jazz is. And so many times it's hard to define jazz is a very broad thing. And for me, this is a great example from 1955 on Bethlehem out of New York City of what jazz was. And I guess I'm just going to close with that. It's just a great record. It's hard to find. It will grow on you like moss in a wooded dale. It's just, you'll just sit back there with lichen and moss hanging out because it's just clings to you. Once you get it, once you really feel how fun Bob Doro is and the band, Devil May Care. Even the first side, there's so many tracks on it. It's hard to pick songs to tell you about, Had the Craziest Dream was great. Old Devil Moon is great. Here's a Dangerous Time. I gotta play a little bit of Ow. It's a Dizzy Gillespie thing. And the scatting is just incredible. It's the essence of a vocal horn. Ella, Lewis, each he's just vocalizing a horn. You know, it's fantastic. And again, this trumpet player comes in on this, and Warren Fitzgerald, and he plays some brilliant Dizzy, because it's a Dizzy song. And then the polka dots and moonbeams that ends this side, that's fantastic Martian land as well. Polka dots and moonbeams.
Oh, beg your pardon.
You've never heard these songs done like this.
Suddenly I saw polka dots and moonbeams.
It's just fucking cool. And you want to know what jazz is? Jazz is cool.
The music started.
It's so fantastic. It's one of the best jazz records you've never heard
I
of.
held my breath and said,
Fantastic. Y'all have a great
may I
night.
have the next one?
Devil may care.
Dots and moonbeams.